Emotional by later tonight at the end before I go to bed.
Okay. All right. Don't mind me. Don't mind me.
But I don't think I want to try to fully communicate to your audience how powerful this is.
Hello.
And Lynn,
Yeah,
it's 6:30. We
okay.
have a quorum and we have the homeowners here, Mr. and Mrs. Flynn.
So from the rack, is Mike here yet?
No, Dave is here and he was at the last meeting when it was denied. And Jerome is here.
Okay, great. Okay, well, this is, I'm going to call to order. This is the meeting of the Oakland Mills Architecture Committee and go through what has happened prior to this meeting and what the agenda is for what we'll be doing in the next half hour. So the Architecture Committee is made up of all the voting members of the Oakland Mills Village Board. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to hear an appeal for a decision on an exterior alteration application, which we call the EAA. As set forth in Article 7, Section 1 of the Oakland Mills Covenants, a resident may request that an application be reviewed by the entire Architecture Committee when an application is denied approval or receives any other adverse decision recommended during review by the resident Architecture Committee and finalized by the Architecture Chairperson. The decision of the majority of the members of this committee, that's this committee tonight, the Architecture Committee, voting yes or no with respect to a motion on this appeal is final and binding. Tonight's appeal is regarding exterior alteration application 12563, which was submitted by Owen and Jerry Flynn for an asphalt overlay of their existing concrete driveway at 5072 Bucket Post Court. The application was reviewed by the Oakland Mills Resident Architecture Committee, the RAC, on July 16th and tabled for additional information. It was again reviewed and disapproved by the RAC, and the recommendation of the RAC was upheld by the AC Chair on July 23rd, 2020. The application was denied, referencing adverse impact on the surrounding community and specifically citing Oakland Mills Village Covenants, Article 6, Covenants and Maintenance, Section 7.03D, which states incompatibility of any proposed structure or use with existing structures or uses upon other lots in the vicinity. So Owen and Jerry Flynn are requesting that the Architecture Committee reconsider this decision and approve the asphalt overlay of their existing concrete driveway at 5072 Bucket Post Court. So the property owners, the Flynns, are here tonight, as are several members of the RAC, the Resident Architecture Committee, that reviewed it and took the action that we're considering tonight. Prior to tonight's meeting, members of the Architecture Committee have had an opportunity to review the application, to read all relevant documents received, and to visit the property. So tonight we have a quorum of the Architecture Committee, and the order of business, I'll just run through what we're going to be doing so you'll know what's ahead of us. First, we'll have a RAC member who will describe the RAC decision, just a brief description of what was decided. Then the second item on the agenda is that the property owner or owners can briefly state the reason for the appeal request and provide any new information they would like the Architecture Committee to consider. So we don't need to review the letter for appeal, because we've all read that, but any new information, you can summarize that, and any new information you have, please state. After that, the Architecture Committee members will ask questions of the property owner pertaining to the application and or any new information that's been presented. After that, others present can briefly present any other new information. So that would include any neighbors who might be on this Zoom meeting, and certainly the RAC members who are part of the original decision. That's a time for them to state any other information. Then finally, there will be discussion just between the AC members, not everyone else who's on this call. And then I will call for a motion. So I will call for a motion to either uphold the decision of the RAC, which would mean that would be denying the appeal, or to overturn the decision of the RAC, which would be to approve the appeal, or to overturn the decision but making other provisions, adding other stipulations. If it turns out that we don't feel we have enough information and we need to table it, we can do that as well. Then I'll call for a second to the motion, and we can discuss the motion. The AC can discuss the motion, and then we'll call for a vote. And so it's important, and I'll run through this with a vote, that the yes votes, the majority of the yes votes carry the motion. A majority of no votes will defeat the motion, and a tie will also defeat the motion. So that's the rundown. And so let's begin with, if Mike's not here, Mike Vaughn is the chair of the committee, but if he is not here, I'm going to ask Dave Smith if he's willing to give a brief overview of the RAC meeting and the RAC decision.
Yes, I am. The fact that the application was carried over to a second meeting indicates that it was something that we didn't have a clear decision about at the end of the first meeting. We were hoping that the Flynns would be able to participate in the subsequent meeting, and unfortunately they weren't. And ultimately, without going too deeply into it, ultimately the issue that was raised was that the immediate neighborhood, and Kay has called the type of home a patio home. None of the houses there have asphalt driveways, and the driveways are a substantial element of the home design, and the homes are close together. And the sense was that this would be a strain on the community to make this change. And we were still undecided until it was brought to our attention that the Flynns are selling the home, and that therefore they would be potentially changing the character of the neighborhood on their way out. And I believe that that was an element in the final decision, that it was inappropriate to make that change.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Does anybody else on the RAC have anything to add to that? You can raise your hand by just raising your hand as we can see it, and then you can unmute you, or we'll proceed on to having the Flynns be able to describe the reason for their appeal and why they're requesting it.
Thank you. We were visited, we put in an application at Oakland Mills a number of months ago, telling them that we weren't going to move, and understood that we needed to get a letter of compliance in order to move from Columbia. Just as an aside, we have been here for a little over 50 years. So we're very long-term residents, and we have been in this home for all those years. Prior to that, we were in Wild Lake. So we're very attached to this community, but because we are older now than we were then, we are looking to move closer to our family. So therefore we went and we followed what we were told to do, and went to Oakland Mills, got a packet, and then apparently were visited by one of your community, maybe one of you all, We weren't aware of this visit, but apparently the person who came just came up to our fence, which is fine, and looked through the fence into our backyard. She made several, and then we received a letter stating the changes that she suggested we make. So we have done that, and we have done that very carefully. There were maybe 3 or 4 changes that needed to be made. We've done that at a good cost, may I say, but we want to comply. One of the changes that she specifically said was that the driveway, and I'm sure you've seen the pictures, is 50 years old, and it does need to be replaced or repaired. We took that, and I did a lot of research, got estimates for both cement and asphalt, because I had been told, and it's true, that there are 2 or 3 driveways just down the street from us in the patio home community who have asphalt driveways, and also another person who has a brick driveway. Now I'm told, I guess, that those people did not ask for approval. I don't know that, but I do know that there are several people who have asphalt driveways. In addition, I took pictures that I submitted to show you how far our driveway is from our neighbors, quite a bit. I hope you have the pictures available to you. We are not smack up against anybody. So that I wanted to tell you. So actually we are just trying to be compliant with you. Now the problem is the cement replacement. These days, the estimate I got was $7,000. Keep in mind, we're seniors and we're moving. The asphalt was $2,500. Now it makes sense for us to try to be wise with what we have. And from looking at the asphalt driveways across the way here, they are beautiful. They certainly would add. And my husband, as you know, also went around and got our neighbors' signatures. They have absolutely no trouble.
Every single neighbor said, no problem, we
Yeah.
don't have any problem. And, you know, they looked and walked around, and it took me a couple hours, but I got all those signatures. So as far as the neighborhood's concerned, now that we've been with these neighbors a long, long time, that they have no problem with it.
And may I say, and then I'll be quiet, I'm truly offended that the gentleman who spoke before you, actually said that what our improvement on the front of our home would be a strain on the community, and that it's inappropriate because we were doing this on our way out. We have been here for 50+ years. We are not fleeing Columbia and leaving a mess behind us. In fact, if anything, our home is much more beautiful now than it was when we decided to move. So I won't say anything more, but I find that very offensive. That is certainly not our way of doing things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just have one point of clarification, and that is that there are no asphalt driveways on your street, and
No.
so and the driveways that are asphalt driveways, it's a common confusion in Columbia, that the fact that something exists doesn't mean that it was ever even applied for, much less approved. So the fact that something exists
At the end of the street,
We're finished.
okay, but at the end of the street, there's a walkway, and that's asphalt.
yes, yeah, that's the pathway. All the pathways in Columbia, all the pathways are
Which is
asphalt.
interesting because it's probably too expensive to do it in cement.
Like, yeah, it's miles and miles, and
To the house, it's closer to the houses.
it's miles and miles and miles of pathways. So that's a different thing altogether. So, but I just wanted to clarify that. So we did do the research, and the 2 or 3 streets over, there are a couple of asphalt driveways. They were never applied for or approved. So that
is not our concern.
No, not your concern, but so the fact, I'm just saying the fact that there are asphalt driveways does not mean that they've been approved. So, because they weren't. So that's just that clarification. Now, does anybody else on the people on the architecture committee questions for our residents? So we have Bill, Jonathan, and Paul. Nobody? No questions?
Is
Yes, I
that
have,
Paul? Is
I have
that
a question.
Mhm.
Is
Is
it
that-
my turn, Lynn?
Oh, I'll be quiet.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, my turn, thank you. For the Flynns, right now you're anticipating hopefully being able to pour asphalt over top of the existing concrete driveway, as I understand it. Did you get a estimate on what it would cost to jackhammer out the old concrete driveway and put in a stone bed with asphalt? Did you get that estimate?
Not with asphalt. We got, they would drill out for cement, but the asphalt, no.
Well, okay, I thought we did.
Okay,
Where it's flat, they were
Yeah.
gonna have to do that.
Well,
Right up
it's-
near the steps, they would have to take out
No, they're
concrete.
asking another question.
Okay.
that was my question, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? I can't see who's asking to ask questions, so I'm,
Jonathan is, and then Paul.
okay, good, thank you.
And anyone else I can't see because you're hidden.
Hey, could you unmute Jonathan then?
Oh, I thought he was.
I am, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of a follow-up to Bill's question. So is the plan to lay asphalt directly over the existing concrete, or is there a plan to repair the concrete underneath so the asphalt is laid over a smooth and consistent surface?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a gentleman, we've had several people come, but they explained to us that there is a little bit of a dip as the stairs, where the stairs go from the driveway. And he explained and showed us how he would level everything. They remove all the vegetation, they get, they get leveled out and then put the asphalt over that.
Okay. Thank you. So, Paul?
Yeah, I live in Thunder Hill and I do a lot of walking these days in Thunder Hill. And I see people replacing their driveways. They're being replaced with concrete, not with asphalt. And there's a number of those. I think I've
That's true.
like 4 or 5 of
Or
them
replacing with
in the
asphalt.
last couple weeks. Jackhammered out and then concrete laid. I mean, that is, and as has been said, this has been in for 50 years. Concrete lasts probably 40 years. So you've more than gotten your use out of it. But asphalt, if it doesn't have a proper base, if it isn't rolled properly, it's just gonna create, in my mind, and I'm a civil engineer, in my mind, that broken up concrete, the unevenness, because you don't have a proper base, will wind up boomeranging on whoever you sell this property to. It won't be your problem, it'll be their problem. So I'm just stating for the record, people are replacing with concrete. Yeah, I know it's more expensive. I replaced mine with concrete and obviously paid for it. That's my comment.
Company has apparently a very good reputation.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And anybody else on the architecture committee?
Rebecca had her hand up.
Does it have to be questions for them, or is this our discussion time also?
This is really questions of the property owner.
Okay, never mind then.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, so now is an opportunity for anybody on the rack that has anything, or anybody else on this call who has anything that they would like to discuss or ask of the residents, of the property owners. Is anybody there? Sandy, can you see?
No, I don't see anybody.
Okay, so that would be Jerome.
Oh, wait, yes, Bill.
We do have our real estate agent here, just so
Does
you
he
know.
want to, unmute him if he wants to say.
So who else?
Or that's later, Lynn, right?
Yeah, who else do we have, Sandy?
David,
We have their realtor, we have Bill who wants to speak, and Dave, did you want to speak again? Okay.
So Bill?
Okay, 2 points. One is that I know we have approved the conversion of concrete to asphalt in other locations in Oakland Mills. So they're not near the current address we're discussing, but in those local immediate neighborhoods, some owner was the first to apply for converting concrete to asphalt, and it was approved, so that it has been done before. Secondly, I don't know how much the RAC gets into the actual construction elements in a driveway, what goes underneath the concrete or what goes underneath the asphalt. I've lived here 47 years, and my original poured slab concrete driveway was a metal mesh for reinforcement, and then the concrete was poured on top of the metal mesh on top of just dirt, and it was varied in thickness from 2 to 4 inches. When I replaced it, I had all that removed. I had dirt dug out. I had a 6-inch crushed stone base, 4-inch sand base, and then concrete pavers put in. So it was very expensive, but it's lasted a long time. So the 2 points are, I don't know how much we get into the actual construction of a driveway, particularly what's underneath and doesn't show. And then secondly, we have had other immediate neighborhoods in Oakland Mills where there was a first family who applied for the conversion from concrete to asphalt, and those were approved. The Flynns would be the first family in their immediate neighborhood asking for the conversion from concrete to asphalt. So those are my 2 statements. Thank you.
Who else wanted to speak?
Well, I'd like to say something.
And Michael Vaughan down at the bottom wants to speak.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'll just real quickly say that, yes, we do get into what the actual construction is. We look, if it's a structure, we look at all of the specs for how that's going to be done. So that's the answer to that one. And I just wanted to add that in terms of what we were also looking at, it's not just simply, are there other, somewhere in Oakland Mills, are there asphalt driveways or concrete driveways or pavers or permeable paving or whatever it might be. We were looking at, because one of the things as far as being compatible with the neighborhood is that will whatever is being done be a jarring element in the neighborhood. So I think one of the considerations was looking at the exteriors of all of the patio homes and the coloration of the brick and the landscaping and all of that. It's to have brand new asphalt. How would that look in relation to the rest of the neighborhood? So that was just a consideration there. So now, Sandy, let's go to Mike Vaughn. So, Mike?
He's got to
Hold on 1 second.
All right. So I did unmute. I'm sorry that I was calling in late, but I wanted to echo basically what's been said, but emphasize the point of compatibility with the neighborhood. There was not one asphalt driveway within that entire neighborhood on the courts that I went to. And I think I'm not sure that asphalt is so much a disturbance, but it's the only asphalt that would be the disturbance. And what I did notice in there, in all 3 courts, was that there was some stonework that was done that looked very nice. So if you're contemplating a change in the neighborhood, stonework might be the way to go. But that again is fairly expensive. So you're looking at an expensive repair no matter what you do, with the exception of the asphalt overlay. Properly done, the asphalt's going to be that concrete's going to be torn up and replaced. It's gonna, you're going to set a bed that supports asphalt. So
You could,
that was my only point, and that was the only thing I wanted to bring up, was that there is nothing in that neighborhood that is asphalt. And I was out there just an hour and a half ago, so.
Okay, but you know that that's not true, right? Because you have already noted the ones on Netherstone.
There was nothing on Netherstone that
I
I saw
actually-
that was asphalt.
No, no.
I saw what I thought were two, but they were
Great.
old, so it was hard
unless
to
they-
find out and stuff too.
Unless they overlaid it with asphalt in the last hour and a half, there was nothing on Netherstone. There was nothing on
I submitted
Brenton.
pictures.
There was nothing on the other two.
You have photographs there somewhere.
Pictures.
I'm not sure when those photographs were submitted, but I was just out there, like I said, an hour and a half ago.
You should check the records that you have.
Yes.
Well, you know,
I'm trusting my eyesight. I was out there physically looking at it.
and Mrs. Flynn, as I said, it doesn't matter really what's on another street.
They don't want
But
to
this,
have their-
according to this gentleman, it does. The
So
gentleman
that
who
was,
just spoke.
On your street, on your
That's
street.
not, the gentleman who just spoke was talking about our community. I heard that word. There
Yep.
were no other driveways in our community.
oh,
So I
no,
just-
no, no. There were no other asphalt driveways within 3 courts of your house.
False. Not true.
In my court, all of them originally were asphalt, but it's a whole different part of the neighborhood. And that was the point I was trying to make, was this will be the only asphalt driveway within 3 blocks,
No, you got us
at
false.
least.
I
Well,
don't know what more to say. except
like
you
I said-
Can I make a
photograph.
point of order?
Well,
Can I-
that was
can
the
I
only
make a point
point I
where-
wanted to make, was that there were none. And like I said, I physically observed them all 3 today. All
Okay.
3 courts, Brenton, Netherstone, et cetera, Bucket Post.
Okay,
And on those 3 courts, there were none. So, and that was what we based our decision on, our recommendation to the RAC chairman.
Okay, and thank you. And I just want to emphasize that we're trying to go according to our order of business tonight. And so please, let's not interrupt each other. We can go from person to person. This isn't a debate. This is going through in a organized way so that everybody gets to express their views and their concerns and their opinions. So Jonathan, do you have something to say?
No, that's the point of order I was going to make, and also remind everyone that we have 3 minutes to come to a decision, or we'll have to schedule a follow-up.
Okay, so we have a couple of minutes now. If there's no one else who's going to speak, let's have the time now for the board to have a discussion among ourselves, and then I'm going to ask for a motion.
But we do have another gentleman to speak. Is he not going to be able to?
He,
Jean is right there. He's in our behalf.
do you have something, sir? Do you have something to add?
He's muted.
Yes.
John?
Okay, we just have a couple of minutes.
Okay. First, I think that everybody should review the appeal letter, because the appeal includes addresses and photographs of asphalt driveways in Netherstone. So since that it was submitted as part of the formal appeal, that should not be denied as fact. And it's being denied as not being factual. But 1 block away on Netherstone, there are 3 asphalt driveways, 1 brick driveway, and 1 with a combination of the 2. And with respect to the defense that, well, they didn't file for approval, think about what that says. What it suggests is that a homeowner like the Flynns, who want to do things properly and by the book and in a manner that's consistent with the company's mission to continue to beautify the environment, the neighborhood, rather than being rewarded for voluntarily wanting to take steps to remedy a deteriorating driveway, instead, they're being denied the opportunity to do what the committee should be encouraging, as opposed to those who did not play by the rules, went ahead and did what they wanted to do without approval. And what has been the ramifications of not playing by the rules? They got what they wanted without playing by the rules.
But they
Yet,
will,
the
but they will
homeowner-
never get a letter of compliance if they have not filed for it. So the issue is not do some people play by the rules and get away with it. It's that if you're requesting a letter of compliance, all we can go on for a letter of compliance is this process. So
Now,
it's
I beg your pardon. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. I think that we do have to wrap this up.
As a realtor, I can tell you that one of the concerns buyers always have are restrictive covenants. So long as there's transparency and reasonableness, they expect that those two functions will be there. Those two elements will be there. It'll be transparent, and it'll be a process that is reasonable and fair. There's no semblance of arbitrariness. Well, there's a great deal of transparency here, and that's you are to be commended for that. What is lacking here is the semblance of arbitrariness. That's the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So now it's for the discussion among board members. I just will say that as far as arbitrariness goes, that it is certainly there's always an element of discretion in making these decisions. But one of the reasons for our letter of compliance, the reason we have a letter of compliance is not as, or we have that process in place, is not as a reward for a homeowner that because they ask for one, we reward them by giving them one. It's also, no, don't shake your head. I understand that that's not what you said. I'm just emphasizing that it's actually serves as a protection to a future property owner. So it's a protection to the purchaser. And so now we're going to, so the purchaser really knows what they're getting into. That when we say that something is in compliance, that we say that it's in good condition and that it's that it meets with all of our standards. So Jonathan?
Oh, are we ready for discussion?
We are ready, yes.
All right, so you know, my feeling is asphalt driveway, you know, in and of itself doesn't really concern me all that much. The streets are asphalt, the paths are asphalt. You know, if it's done nicely, I think the house can look just as nice with asphalt versus concrete. My main concern, and I haven't spoken to members of the RAC because I'm trying to stay independent, but as I looked at this case and considered why the RAC may have raised the concern about doing this as you leave the neighborhood is it can become a future architectural compliance issue for the buyer of the property, because if that asphalt is not laid properly on a proper base, then you have another driveway out of compliance really, you know, before the end of that asphalt's lifetime because of what's happening underneath. So, you know, as a member of the architecture committee, I could support an asphalt driveway on the provision that the concrete is properly removed and a proper base is laid over which the asphalt would go. But I would not be able to support just laying asphalt over concrete. In my part of Oakland Mills, that's been done frequently, and apparently it was approved in the past, and it's not holding up well.
Thank you, Jonathan. And Rebecca?
I agree with Jonathan. I spent extensive time in your court today. I don't know if you saw me on my bike, but I was riding around your court and all the courts around there because I do live right down the street. And, you know, it was really hard to tell which driveways were asphalt and which were concrete, because when concrete ages, it turns gray. So many driveways were dark gray. Some were white, some were brand new, and some were asphalt, some were brick paving stone, some sidewalks were paving stone, and then the driveways were, it was a mixed bag. And the road was asphalt and the bike paths are all asphalt. And I know the bike paths are not our purview, but they are connected to the neighborhood. So I think that the asphalt driveway would look totally fine. The concerns about it not being the most reliable way to make the driveway is not the RAC's concern. What you guys do to make it look good is the RAC's concern, and it's, you know, the new owner's responsibility to maintain that into the future, not not our responsibility to make sure you're putting the best quality driveway down that you can do. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else on the architecture committee? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion. So the motion can be either to uphold the decision of the RAC, which would be to deny the application, to overturn the decision of the RAC, which would be to approve the appeal and the application, or to overturn the decision of the RAC, but give other additional provisions to allow it for the approval. So I'll go through that again. That either we make a motion to uphold the decision of the RAC, to overturn the decision of the RAC, or to overturn the decision of the RAC, thereby allowing the asphalt driveway, but putting in additional provisions. So can I have a motion to the effect of one of those?
I make a motion to uphold the decision of the RAC.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a second? Well, I'll second it. And so can we have a vote? All of those in favor of upholding the decision of the RAC, please raise your hand. So Sandy, can you do the count?
You're muted.
I'm sorry, my dog's barking tonight. I have Lynn and Paul voting to uphold the decision of the RAC.
Okay, the people who are voting no for upholding the decision of the RAC with no provision.
Only the board members vote. RAC members don't vote. I have Jonathan voting no, Rebecca voting no, and Bill voting no.
Okay.
So,
no abstentions?
any abstentions?
There's nobody else here, right?
No.
Okay. Well, then the no vote carries the day, and so we are not upholding the decision of the RAC, and so that means that the asphalt driveway is approved. The application is approved.
Do you need a motion to that effect, or
No, that was what you voted on.
That's it. So that's the decision. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming and giving this your attention and your consideration and being so thoughtful and thorough in your discussion. And so Mr. and Mrs. Flynn, you will get a letter to that effect saying that that your application is approved. And the meeting of the Architecture Committee is now concluded. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yes.
We thank you very much for your time.
Go on.
Okay. Are you, Sandy and Amy, do you need to end one recording and start another so the sessions are separate, or can I go right into the meeting?
No, you can go right into it.
Okay. All right. So let me make sure we still have me. We have Lynn, we have Bill, we have Rebecca, we have Paul. It looks like we lost Ginny along the way. She was here before.
Well, hopefully she'll come back.
Okay, well, it is 9 after 7, so I'm going to go ahead and call the regular meeting of the village board to order. We do have a quorum present. So first up on our agenda is, as I'm scrolling through the agenda, is to approve. Oop, I think someone's trying to come in now. Maybe
That was Ginny.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so our first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from our July 28th, 2020 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
a motion?
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, is there discussion on the minutes from July 28th? All in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's everyone present, right? Okay, so there will be no votes and no abstentions from that one. Okay, next is to approve the agenda for tonight's board meeting. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Okay, Bill moves. Is there a second?
Second,
Paul, any discussion of tonight's agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And that's everyone present. All right. Resident remarks. If you're a resident who would like to make remarks to the board, you get 3 minutes per resident. If you have your camera turned on, or if you can turn a camera on and you'd like to make remarks, please turn your camera on now, raise your hand, and we'll unmute you in the order we see you. If you don't have a camera, then please use one of the Zoom features to give a wave or a raised hand or some indicator that you want to talk to us. Going once, going twice. All right, I'm going to go with no remarks tonight. Okay, then we will go right into old business. So first on our old business is the fiscal 21 revised Oakland Mills Community Association budget discussion. And Sandy, I'll turn it over to you to lead that because I know you sent out the original and revised. So if there's anything you want to highlight or walk us through, and if you want, I can try to bring it up on the screen.
I got it here. Okay, you see it?
Okay. Yes.
Amazing. I'm always amazed and I can do this. Okay, so Jonathan, I can't pull up both and I couldn't print out the old one. But basically the changes in the budget are in the revenue, number 1A, the base revenue is 311,000. It had been 320,000. So that's like $9,000 difference. I also, the revenue had been, if someone can look at the old one, because I don't have it printed and I can't.
Here, Sandy, what I'll do is I can't share it, but on my computer here, I'll pull up the old one.
Yeah.
And then I'll jump in and note where there's a difference as you walk
Okay,
through the new one.
so on the room rentals, back in April, we had, it was a shot in the dark thinking that we would start picking up rentals in the fall, that, you know, the world would be normal again. And that is, of course, you know, not the case. So that number has fallen dramatically in anticipated room rentals. We are giving tours now. Brigitta's on the meeting tonight, but our capacity is limited and the restrictions are great. So the number of realistic events that we will hold between now and when we are not in a pandemic will be, I'm thinking probably 5 or 6 at the most between now and next March or April. So that reflects in the dramatic decrease in room rentals. For leases.
Okay, so before you move on, just so that everyone knows, the original anticipated revenue from room rentals was 45,000, and that's been reduced to the 7, you say.
Yeah. And then for leases, we have fully leased the Talbot Springs Neighborhood Center. So they are paying a nice monthly lease on that for 12 months of the year. We're still waiting on the Thunder Hill Nursery School. They usually lease from September until May, and then we would have had a summer camp right now. And they're meeting to decide if they're going to start in November or they're going to forego the year. And if so, I possibly have the woman at Talbot Springs who for 1 year would want to rent Thunder Hill. So we're just waiting for all of that to come into play. So I really couldn't anticipate rent for that center. And the same at Stevens Forest. I can't anticipate rent other than the Village and Howard just being able to use their office. But, you know, if anyone else had come to me and wants it for anything, I'd discuss it with them, but there's been no one out there. And So those things probably I'll know more by probably in 2 weeks or probably next week once I hear from Thunder Hill. So I can't
Andy,
anticipate that.
Right now on that item, you have an increase from 7,000 to 12,000.
Right, because I wasn't sure about the Talbot Springs Nursery School starting
Okay,
so soon, and they did.
okay,
So they're all set. They got their licensing. It's a new school to Howard County. It's not a new daycare center. In general, they own other centers, but they got their licensing. This week, we had to just paint the trim that had some peeling paint for their license, but that was a minimal cost. So that's all good. So there are no retained deposits because that's usually if someone cancels, they lose their deposit. But right now with the COVID, anyone who's canceled during this time frame, we've actually given them their deposit back. If they schedule for 2021 and they give us their money and then they cancel, we're not going to give that back unless at that point in time we're still under a COVID. So they know that they sign up for that. We didn't have anything for classes and enrollment to begin with. Special events, I really can't see that we're going to be holding in-person events. We will be holding, hopefully, a Zoom craft festival where some vendors might be on a website and would give us some money. Maybe if the high school band is practicing, they can do a Zoom concert. So Brigida is looking at other festivals and what they're doing online, but the cost for that, again, will be very minimal. So that's special events. We'll do something for the holidays, but again, it's not going to be like our Breakfast with Santa or anything like that. So we might put out a little money, but I can't think in what way other than possibly some entertainment online.
well, this is the revenue side. So this was revenue generated from events, right? Because you reduced that from 1,000.
Oh, right, revenue, yeah, so we're reducing that, and possibly the only revenue, would be from the vendors who might want to participate in an online craft show where they're paying a fee to have us promote them. It's all guesstimates on events, but we're not planning on having any jazz concerts, any Breakfast with Santa, anything where people are going to pay to come to us. And that's where we would make revenue. Most of it is from jazz concerts. That won't start up again till next May. Miscellaneous stays the same. It's really the sale of the homeowner packets. And then the gain and loss stays the same. We do have the idle loan that we got, which is $10,000, but that does not show up on our chart of accounts. It will show up on our another schedule that the accountant will do, and it has a liability on our cash reserve. So that isn't going to show up here. So then under salaries,
Sandy,
yeah.
Before you move on, just to summarize for everyone, can you go back up to the bottom line on income?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Because we're going to need to approve this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Here we go.
So 368.69 is the new, basically, estimated income for the budget. That is a almost exactly a $43,000 decrease over the income we anticipated when we approved the budget going into this fiscal year. So $43,000 less in income anticipated in this budget.
Okay, the expenses, the salaries, what were they in the last budget, Jonathan?
In the last budget, total salaries were $220,000.
Okay, so that's $30,000 less. And basically, again, when I did this in April, I was thinking that we'd be working more normally by the second quarter of the year or the third quarter, October to April, third and fourth quarters. But I don't think that's going to happen as well, because even if we open our building, there's fewer rentals. We don't need a full staff to open when we're going to probably see people by appointment only, which is what we're doing now. So it would be just pretty much retaining the staff that you see now, which is the equivalent of a covenant advisor for applications, Karina at reduced hours, Brigida, myself, and Amy at, basically Amy's working the board meetings and doing the minutes right now. So I don't see that changing much, but I did pad it a little because I hope it changes a little. But it's not where I thought we'd be last April. And so all the other accounts really have gone down. We still do need the cleaning. We will still need Judd to set up and break down for some events and do more cleaning than normal. We're supposed to get new flooring upstairs, but I anticipate once between now and the end of the fiscal year, we might need some flooring cleaned. And our supplies are increased because, as you know, if you go to buy Lysol wipes, they cost like $100 now for 3 wipes. So, you know, everything is going up, even though we're not there using a lot. Our fees are basically constant. I mean, that's where we're spending our money, on the web, on software, on Constant Contact, on our accountant. Our audit is every 3 years. We put money aside every year. You don't know anything about if we will need legal expenses or not. And again, our accountant is a fixed fee based on, you know, her yearly work for us. Then as far as office supplies, there is a $7,000 increase there for all of the supplies that we're buying COVID related, the fans, the stand-up fans, the mounted fans, and all of the cleaning supplies that we normally wouldn't just have to operate daily. Program supplies is paper, copier costs, other things, just office in general, non-COVID related in this case. The postage is high because that all is mainly from the election mailing, so I'm not taking that away. The staff development is dues to Leadership Howard County that I'm a member of, but that's it for that. I think we've developed a lot of skills on our own the past 5 months. Mileage is down. It's really just covering probably for 1 or 2 employees mileage to do their job as covenant advisors. Food would be normally higher because we have dinners, board-related things, volunteer appreciation, not the volunteer dinner, that's special events. Other are miscellaneous. If we bought gifts for volunteer of the year, possibly we will acknowledge that before the end of the year for the last volunteer. So I padded that a little. Insurance is fixed. It is general liability, the umbrella policy, and D&O. The newsletter is advertising in the Wedding Wire, and that is where we actually get almost every inquiry from. So it's money well spent. The newsletter was in the flyer, and we are not advertising in the flyer. Other printing, again, that is the cost of the election mailer. I did do a small bit in donations, special events, expenses. So that would be where we might have something at the holidays, entertainment-wise on Zoom. We might find something we can do minimally at other times of the year to keep the community connected. In the fall, we're thinking about, with the other villages, it's pumpkin carving and hiring someone. And so we will share the cost of that with the other villages. And it's an online thing that families can do, and then have some kind of display of online of pumpkins. Taxes is fixed. Gas and electric is pretty much fixed, and you know, it's a little lower now, but that figure doesn't really change much. We are paying less in our utilities because we're not using the buildings, but we still have the air conditioning running, the water running, and our telephone is a constant. It's Comcast. It's our phone. Building maintenance, I did reduce it a little, but we're still paying for elevator repair, sprinkler repair, plumbing, leaky faucets. I mean, we're still doing that. And furniture and fixtures, actually, Jonathan, that includes, that's right. It includes the 2 air fans for the loft, which I got the bill today, and each of them is about $1,600, and there still might be another electrical problem. So it's that plus any broken chairs or tables that we might need to replace.
Yeah, and that one is a notable increase because that was originally 500.
Right, so it's the 2 back in April. Who would have known about air fans for the loft at that cost? So that is an expense. And then that is our decrease from revenue and expenses.
So to summarize expenses, the 375, 195, that is almost $40,000 less in expenses than the beginning of fiscal 21 budget. The 14,326 decrease in unrestricted net assets, that's an increase in the decrease. So that's a greater decrease.
Yeah. So the
of
thing,
about $3,100.
So the thing is that the loan of $10,000 can cover these, but and this might change, so we can actually even vote on it at the next meeting, because I have the expenses in here, but the loan doesn't go in here. And then we didn't get the money from the state yet to also cover expenses. So, I mean, it's an unknown.
Well, actually, Sandy, I think we should state it as it is, because the loan has a repayment obligation.
Right.
It nets itself out over time.
Right. So that's where we're at.
The loan is an offsetting revenue, so I think the loan just needs to sit out in a separate category, and you know, as we figure out the accounting, we'll figure out what to do when it comes time to state what our actual end of the year, you know, situation is at the end of the year. But right now, given the revenue we have and given the obligation associated with the loan, it would be a $14,000, you know, in the red situation.
And I can tell you, Bill or Rich just sent me, and I'll pull it up on my phone, the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year. For expenses, we have spent actually $7,000 less, but in revenue, we have taken in like $100,000 less, $117,000 less. So we're able to maintain our expenses of close to what they were last year. But as far as the revenue goes, last year's revenue at this time was $360,000, and this year's revenue total assets is $242,000, a difference of $117,000 less. And our assets, total assets, are that much less. Yeah, mostly it's all revenue from not renting the building and the decrease in the assessment. So, are there questions? Huh?
I'm scanning. I can't see everyone at once when you have the screen share on, so I'm just looking to see if anyone has a hand raised with a question. And I don't see anyone.
One quick question.
Oh,
Mhm.
Rebecca.
Doesn't really affect these numbers. Just Sandy, when you rent, do you only rent the loft, or do you advertise that you have that beautiful courtyard that people can rent, have an outdoor space?
Yeah, the space for downstairs, we have one that's October that's going to use the smaller room in the courtyard, and that our numbers downstairs are 35 based on half capacity. The numbers upstairs are 65. So at this point, any room that they want, we welcome their rental, and it's nice to be a smaller number with the downstairs, because if it's nice, we can open the doors and they can be outside. But we could not have anything over 35 renting the downstairs.
Even if they were outside in the courtyard?
Well, but you can't know that, because they might not be able to go outside. It could be raining or nasty. So if they're upstairs and their guests come down and wander outside, but as a rental, we couldn't rent the downstairs, including the courtyard, if they're over 35 people. But we talked to them about the numbers. I mean, everyone's coming in they know their numbers are smaller now. So, folks are just having small family things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just thinking, I mean, like, you can rent, park pavilions, and you might have terrible weather. That's just part of the risk of renting.
Yeah, but then they're coming in, and then it's a whole different setup. And so And it's really CA's open space. We can't just rent the outside and it's buyer
Oh, the
beware.
courtyard
It's our,
The courtyard doesn't belong to the other barn?
it's Columbia Association, and we have to get permission for, they know when we're having events there. So no, it's a shared open space.
I always
So,
thought of it as.
if we have weddings out there, they use it. We let CA know this group is here this day. But in general, because we have to be responsible to our renters to provide restrooms, to provide a kitchen space and all that, that we are cautious in sticking with the number capacity, especially now. If someone prior to COVID wanted the downstairs and upstairs and courtyard, we welcome that and they rent all the different spaces. But because of our capacities, we can't just say your crowd of 65 can use the whole building. And then it's just also tough with cleaning spaces and the cost. So we do want people to rent any space right now.
Yeah, it seems like the courtyard would be a really valuable thing since people are it's much safer to be outside. If you're having a kid's birthday party, rent the courtyard at a deal.
But then you have to go through CA because they also then have to rent our building. We can't just, if you just want to go in the courtyard, you're on your own. If we're renting it, we have to have them rent our space and then use the courtyard. Especially during the COVID, there's so much cleaning and rules and regulations involved that we are responsible for that too. I don't know if Brigida, I'm going to unmute her for a second if there's anything like she might want to clarify with regard to that, if she's still here. Yeah. Okay, I unmuted you, Brigida, if you were accepting my unmute. Yeah, no, she might not be at her computer. But I think, I might not be the right answer, but I'm trying to answer it how we've done business. I'm happy for people to use the courtyard. But if they have over 35, they have to rent upstairs. Brigida's there. Did I miss anything, Brigida?
No, I'm sorry. My television was on. I was trying to find the mute button. So most of the people that are coming in, they are looking really to use the courtyard at a smaller number, and they want to use it in conjunction with one of our spaces. And they're willing to pay the fee that whether they're using the upstairs for a reception or they're using the downstairs. But they're staying, it's pretty clear in the information that we send out to them how we address our numbers, but the reason why they're coming to us pretty much is because we have the courtyard space. But they understand that they rent it in conjunction with something else, and they're absolutely fine. Like we have a possible one for October who wants to have a small little cocktail situation and then a ceremony in the courtyard, and her number is maybe 35, maybe a couple more. And we were okay with that. So we are certainly being flexible because we definitely want to rent it, and the courtyard is definitely the draw.
Thank you, Brigida. That makes it clear.
Are there any other questions on the revised budget? Okay, I'll wait. You need a motion, right, Sandy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the budget as revised and presented tonight. Is there a second? I think Bill's muted, but I can tell he's making a second.
Why is he muted?
Is there any other discussion on the budget?
My fault. Yep. I muted myself because most people like me better that way. I second.
All right, all in favor of approving the budget as amended and presented tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, wow. Okay, Sandy stopped sharing and my screen freaked out. Hang on a second. Now I need to recombobulate myself. Is that such a term? If you can get discombobulated, do you then recombobulate?
Sure.
All right. Okay, so next up, we have the follow-up on the CA budget that we started last week. So I'm going to attempt to bring up the budget testimony document that Sandy circulated. Bear with me. Where is it? Oh, okay, I see what happens. It
Be right there.
under if I'm full screen. All right, now let me share this. Well, that's weird. Is everyone seeing the same just gray screen that I'm seeing with no?
No, it's
Oh, there it is. All right, so this is actually a copy of the testimony we delivered to CA last year. And I think I was at some kind of school event. So Bill delivered the testimony, and we talked a bit about this at the last meeting, and also discussed the financial situation for CA as well as developments. So there are a few things we already know are going to be taken care of that we asked for last year that we can strike from this. So Sandy, unless anything has changed, the replacement HVAC is one that we can certainly strike because that's happening in September. Is that still on schedule?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. Yes. So that one is going to be done. The loft replacement carpet going to be done. I think I sent this all to you. The loft floor, that'll be done. Smithy Tech units, that'll be done.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought I sent this all in an email. Rear hall stairs will be done. The entrance hall, it's not, but it's nothing we asked for. It's just that they wanted to make it, they might do it, but I haven't heard. Move the hallway door for the elevator, but I don't know that that's any life safety or anything like that. So I'm not sure about that. The kitchen stairs will be done. The silo will be done. Then you had your property standards. You had your CA getting a consultant to evaluate their entire operation. Upgrades to the neighborhood centers. I mean, I pretty much, I think they're fine right now, giving everyone's, CA's budget and the uses of our centers right now. And Ginny had asked, and I didn't update this, but to add the restroom, or she's adding, and I'm not sure which way you want to go on that. We support adding the restroom. I think we want the ice rink to remain. And that parking lot, they said they were going to pave, and they wanted to pave it like the day of the festival. I asked them to wait, so I have to get an update on that.
All right, so it sounds like right now, and also given the priority letter we sent to the county, we probably want to stand by the ice rink. Ginny did ask, for us to support the effort to get the restroom in the loft, and we do. So I think that's something we can add. Property standards evaluator, neighborhood centers, and then Sandy, you have to look into the parking lot, and then
yeah. But I'm not even sure that was a budget
item.
item.
I mean, the thing we have to keep in mind if we ask is right now CA's in a position where they're basically, from a capital perspective, they're doing safety. So, many of these things might just be continuing to be on the record with them. It's probably unlikely that they're going to have the funds to commit to, several of these because they're not safety items at this point. Bill?
Real quick, when I give testimony, the request for property standards evaluator, they said that would have to come out of our budget. They're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I know that, but we just put it in.
All right, so now from last year, we're down to ice rink and review of operations for CA and neighborhood centers.
Isn't CA already doing their review of their operations? Isn't that already happening?
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, that's a good question, Lynn. I think inherent in Andy Stack's survey that he sent out to us, that CA is looking internally, at least at certain aspects of their operation. I don't think that they're questioning how should they exist or should they exist, et cetera. Not quite as extreme as I would like to see it personally, but I do think they're undergoing an evaluation. And what we might be able to do, we could check with Ginny, but I think probably CEA by now has had or is in the process of having one of their staff go through facilitator training so that potentially CA could undertake the whole reevaluation with that facilitator. They would just need to widen the scope of their reevaluation. That's my opinion.
I think generally there is a value in having an outside person.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise people tend to protect their own, you know?
I agree. I was looking at that in light of the budget situation. My personal opinion is once we would get back to a normal budget situation, we've got a vaccine for the virus, et cetera, and everything's back to normal, then I would personally press for the outside objective third party person to do it. Absolutely. And I think CA is going to get there sooner or later. I think the virus situation and the budget situation and all of the cross subsidization within their budget is really going to push them in that direction, hopefully.
So I have a question for everyone before we even dive any further into new items or revisiting the old items. Given what we know about CA's financial situation and given when we're likely going to deliver this testimony, which is roughly in a month's time or so, month to month and a half's time, do we or should we treat this more as kind of a marker? Basically, these are our priorities and kind of be deferential in the testimony and say, we understand that a lot of these things cannot be priorities for you right now, but when they are, we just want to stay on the record with this. Or do we want to go in with our standard, testimony as if nothing's happening? I'm wondering what our approach should be given what we know, because we made out really well last year. If you think of the high dollar things we're crossing off this list, and I know we're asking CA for things it can't deliver right now, and I don't just want to waste air and not acknowledge their challenges. So I want to know what everyone thinks about sort of changing our tone if we go in with anything this year. Bill, and then Lynn, and then Paul.
I agree with you, Jonathan, that I think we need to acknowledge the situation, and that should be the very first thing that we do. And then secondly, say, we're going to put our wish list as markers for the future when the financial situation returns to normal, or words to that effect. Until the financial situation improves significantly. These are our wish list. These are markers. We understand your current situation, and we understand that not much of anything might be done on these until finances improve significantly.
And then Lynn was next.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think we want to beware of sounding just really greedy when we know what CA is facing and what the county is soon, and not to mention the state. I mean, things are going to be really, really tight. And to go in and say, thank you for all that you've done for us, but now we want a state-of-the-art skating rink, and we want, it sounds like, come on, Oakland Mills, but couldn't we structure this more along the lines of what we do in submitting to the county, where we have sort of, this is for, pandemic year, here are our priorities. And then after that, so we could do, not short-term, mid-term, long-term, but something kind of along those lines, recognizing, right now, these are the things that are really crucial to us above and beyond what you're already doing for us. But in the future, as Bill said, in the future, this is the direction we'd like to see things moving for Oakland Mills.
Most of these things pretty much are all post-pandemic. There's,
Yes,
they've
right.
pretty much taken care of anything that was a health and safety, hopefully in September.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, I would second what Lynn is talking about, as well as Bill. We do have to recognize the issues that CA is having, but do it nicely and still go with our priorities, only couch them in an appropriate tone. My opinion.
I'm on board with that.
All right. Well, I think all 5 of us here tonight are feeling the same way about that. So, now, given what we know we already have on here, what's coming off the list and anything new we might want to discuss, do we have some thoughts about what our, I guess, safety related priorities are versus what our nice to have, we just want to, state them for the future priorities are?
Is the restroom a safety issue?
I would like, Lynn, I would personally like, assuming that we can start using the loft at some point, I personally feel that could go under the safety category, only because the people we're trying to serve with that are, in an at-risk category, and we're asking them to travel great distances to use a restroom right now.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Oh, Jonathan?
Yes, Ginny.
Yeah, I was going to save this for my report, but what I requested from the board members are supposed to ask some of their requests, and requested 2 things. One is a second sheet of ice that you've been asking for forever, but also look at partnering with the county on that one. And the second one was to do what we wanted to do last year, and we had gotten approved, but I'm putting it in again this year, and that is to really do an evaluation of the feasibility of having restrooms on the 2nd floor. So that's really all it would be for this year. You're not actually going to construct them. You will determine whether it can really be done in this building. So I would suggest you keep all of this in your letter. Other boards, I think, are going to put in what they want. I wouldn't worry about it. I would just thank CA for what they are doing and just say this is it, and you're realistic about what actually can be approved or not. But I would ask other boards, I'm sure, are going to be asking.
Yeah, and I mean, really, for the 2 items you just mentioned, we're not even saying give us a restroom now, give us a second sheet now. It's study the feasibility of a restroom and start working with the county on the future second sheet. I mean, just getting started working on the county is not going to produce a second sheet in a year, even in flush times. So I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, and the second sheet can be under economic development as well for a village center. Recreation, economic development, etc.
Okay, the only other item we had that—
I got to just go downstairs for a second. Excuse me. I got to get the fish out of the oven for Chuck. Okay.
I think Bill might have.
All of us? She needs to have enough for all of us, or it's not fair.
Okay.
The only other item we had on here were the interior upgrades at the Stevens Forest neighborhood. Well, oh no, Stevens Forest Neighborhood Center, and that's weird. The bold is just Stevens Forest, but it's actually Stevens Forest and Talbot Springs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I took that from their reports. So I guess we should leave it.
Mm-hmm.
When they get to the point that they're back wanting to value the centers. This was what I read in one of their category, whatever, reports saying they proposed to do it. And so I'm like, oh, well, they're saying it, we'll put it in there.
Well, I mean, again, to me, when you only have one restroom and it's not ADA acceptable, that becomes a health and safety issue. You need an accessible restroom for health reasons.
Yeah, that's at Talbot Springs. Stevens Forest has 2. But we should ask for all of that again.
Yeah. But does Stevens Forest have an ADA accessible restroom? I thought
No,
right.
no,
So-
but either does Thunder Hill.
Oh, why aren't we doing it everywhere then?
Well, Thunder Hill's a newer center, and I just took these from their list. Thunder Hill might be, I'm not sure. It could be wide enough in that hall. Stevens Forest, they would probably have to change how they get into each restroom, so it would be a lot of structural stuff.
All right, well, I still think it's worth.
I think we should leave it and leave it up to them, but Thunder Hill was never on the list for that.
Okay. So it sounds like we're likely keeping all the items that haven't been crossed off because we got them. You know, again, with some, you know, with some deferential language acknowledging the struggle. Is there anything else we want to add at this point, Bill?
Yeah, Jonathan, I think besides the deferential language up front about their current budget situation, I think it'd be very good to say thank you for this long list of things they're getting done for us this year and put that in there. Bang, 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 bang. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It never hurts, and it recognizes what they have done for us.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. All right, any further discussion?
I'll just let you know that the hearing is going to be on, so I'll send around the new draft from tonight, on September 10th. It'll most likely be a Zoom meeting for testifying.
So we have what? We have 2 more meetings between now and then? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So would it, I mean, since we're all talking about things and we all have a picture in our head of what this would look like, but we have plenty of time before we need to deliver it, I would propose that instead of voting it tonight and, you know, kind of imagining what it would look like, let Sandy and me and anyone else who wants to contribute write it, and then we can actually bring a copy back to the next meeting and vote that, and that way we're you know, we're all ensured that we're on the same page, because we have plenty of time before we need to deliver this. We have 2 meetings where we could tweak things if we really needed to. I don't want to prolong it, but since we don't have something in front of us, that seems more prudent to me right now.
Jonathan, I think we have just 1 meeting before oh no, it's, when is September 1st? Is that a Tuesday?
Yeah, in September, our first meeting will be on Tuesday, the 8th.
Got it, thank you.
And this goes on the 10th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have two meetings. We have, yeah.
Good, thank you. I stand corrected, thank you.
Is everyone okay with that? Okay. Let me make sure I don't close the wrong window here. Okay, uh-oh, oh, there we go. So every time I stop screen sharing or someone else stops, my screen goes blank for a second and I think I've lost everything, and then it comes back. If you're wondering why I keep getting, again, to use the word discombobulated and having to recombobulate every time we move another item on the agenda. All right, board chair report. Actually, I don't even think I have 10 minutes worth of stuff to report tonight. One interesting thing, and I'm going to tell you everything I know, so you'll know as much as I know. All the board chairs got an email from Andy Stack about, I would say 5 or 6 days ago, saying that he and Milton Matthews would like to meet with the chairs at a date in late August, and he offered a few dates. And you know, ultimately, based on feedback received from the chairs who responded, he went ahead and scheduled that for, and hang on, let me just triple check my calendar to make sure I get it right, because as Sandy knows, I am bad at calendars. It will be August 27th. And that's what I know. There was no other context to it. There's no, draft agenda has been shared or anything. It was just Milton and I would like to meet with all of you. Here are, 4 dates in August. Can you make one of these dates? So as I learn more, I'll report back to you. If I learn something, even between our meetings, I'll send you an email, let you know what's going on. But that's what I know right now.
Yeah, Jonathan?
Yes, Ginny.
Yeah, I believe this was at the request of the chairs for a follow-up meeting with Milton based on the last meeting we had. So, I mean, you guys should be coming up with what issues, well, Andy will talk to you, but I believe you should be coming up with what issues you want Milton to address as well. Or not.
I mean, the way he wrote it, it wasn't really in response to our follow-up to the last meeting. It was, so the way it's worded was, in July, we got together to discuss CA's financial situation and how it led to the current situation. Milton and I would like to continue to meet with you. We propose a meeting of just the chairs and Milton to discuss fiscal 2022. So that's about it. Because I mean, the feedback from the chairs when I put that consensus together was, yeah, we think it would be a good idea if the villages met with the CA board more frequently than it does. But we didn't set a frequency or anything like that. I mean, we were thinking like once a quarter, twice a year, something like that. So I don't know if that prompted this or if it's something else. But he hasn't come back and asked us to drive the agenda or anything. It was more
okay,
like,
I'll get some feedback, more feedback for you. At 4 o'clock Wednesday, Milton, Andy and I are meeting, so I'll add that to the agenda, okay?
okay,
See if I can help you a little more.
okay. Let's see. The only other thing I have is Sandy and I did have a meeting with the director of the mediation, MCRC, Mediation and Conflict Resolution Center. And, given the responses sent to date, she was, unclear on what we could do with only 3 responses at the time. So, right now we're basically kind of on hold with them, in case anyone else decides that they want to participate and weigh in. If not, then, we'll probably move on because, they were concerned that they can't really, build anything for us based on 3 responses out of 8 possible people. So that's where that is right now. But if anyone, has any feelings about that, or if anyone decides that they want to participate but haven't yet, again, please just send your information to Sandy and she'll make sure she gets it over to them. Beyond that, I don't really have a lot to report. I've been, I saw that Michael Harris was here, so I just want to send another thank you out to him because I've been going for walks down or up at the north end of Stevens Forest Road, and I've seen no cars.
Yeah, he's not here anymore. Ashley's here.
Okay, so I saw him come. Oh, Ashley's here. Hi, Ashley.
Yeah.
So it looks like those signs plus any enforcement that is going on are having the desired effect. I don't know whether the complexes have changed some of their policies to accommodate things, but it now appears much safer to bike and walk along that stretch of Stevens Forest Road because you're not stepping out into traffic and taking your life into your hands because a bunch of cars are blocking the view of the traffic that's coming out at you as you step out or ride your bike or do whatever you're doing. So thank you to Councilman Jones's office for helping us out with that.
Oh, Jonathan. Michael also sent an earlier letter about the trees. Did you get that? I can sum it up.
Go, yeah, because I haven't really been on my email looking it up.
And I unmuted Ashley if she wants, in case she wants to say anything. But so he was following up on a tree issue that was raised at the last meeting or 2 meetings ago. And Clear Smoke Court, they will be replacing a tree that they removed, and Wandering Way, 2 sites that there were dead trees that will be removed. And didn't have all the details about when the replacement would be, but he sent up this letter late today.
Okay. Oh, and that was
So-
the other thing I had. Speaking of trees, we contacted Chris Jaragapu. Did I get his last name right? Jaragapu?
Jaragapu, I think.
Um,
Jagarapu.
Yeah, okay, Chris. We contacted him about tree removal and replacement throughout Oakland Mills because there seems to be an inconsistent pattern of the county taking down dead or dying street trees and then replacing some, but not replacing others, grinding some stumps, leaving others. And, one of the things of most concern to me was the gateway to our village center, right in front of Shadow Oak. They took away, on the southbound side of Thunder Hill Road, they took down a bunch of the oak trees. And, the gateway to the Oakland Mills Village Center no longer has oak trees. And they left stumps. And it's been like that for, I think, over a year now. And meanwhile, they've taken down other trees in the area and ground the stumps and already replaced them. So, we kind of sent an email asking, well, what is the logic? What's the rhyme or reason? And, Chris, he was very good to respond. He gave us, some more information about their constraints due to COVID and budget constraints and, prioritizing safety over aesthetics right now. But he also did say he'd look specifically into, what's happening in Oakland Mills when it comes to street tree replacement and removal and why those oak trees have just been left as stumps as the gateway to our village center. So, hopefully we'll be hearing more from him soon. But, I appreciate the struggle that the county is going through and also appreciate that he took the time to do, not just a back and forth. I would say there were probably 3 or 4 replies from him on that string of emails. So we'll see what can happen out there in front of Shadow Oak as the gateway to the village center with all those tree stumps and missing trees. And unless there are any questions for me, that's all I have. All right, next is, I'm guessing it's Ginny, but let me just make sure there's nothing weird thrown in there. Yes, it's Ginny.
Okay, just a few things. One, in terms of what CA's been doing for the other barn, Sandy went over the list, but I'll give you how much it's actually costing. The dome repairs are $9,000. The loft flooring is $27,000. The first floor carpet, $17,300. The kitchen and rear stairs treads are $8,200. And the HV units are $150,000. So the total will be $211,524 for Oakland Mills. So I think that's pretty good considering the budget problems. Okay. The second thing is CA is making an attempt to open 2-hour care for drop-off for kids at the Supreme Sports Club. And they're going to get more information out on that, but they feel they can safely do it. So I hope that'll be helpful. And I don't know whether people will respond, whether they'll use it or not, but we'll certainly find out. Michelle is also working on what can be done with the school system in terms of before and after. And Bill, she was going to call you. I don't know if you guys had a chance to connect yet.
She emailed me. I gave her the contact from Rec and Parks,
Okay.
her counterpart, and she's working with them.
Okay. She's trying to be as innovative as possible to see what we can do in terms of providing some type of childcare, either full day in different locations, several hours. We're trying everything because one, we want to be as helpful as possible, but two, that was a big part of our revenue. As I know you've heard this more than you want to hear it, 48% of our revenue was coming from the clubs and from before and after daycare. So we're really trying to figure out, can we get some revenue in the fall from the quote daycare? If not, won't be calling it before and after necessarily, although we're trying to see if we can get space in the schools. And yeah, it would be all the health things that you have to meet, et cetera, social distancing, et cetera. But so we'll see. That's about it. You have the budget information. We'll just see what happens. We'll get a better handle on how much money we're getting from the annual charge in September. And also users is about 30% at the clubs right now. People are freezing their membership. They're afraid to go indoors and use the clubs. Although I've been really impressed. I know Bill's been using it. I have, about how well they're handling the safety issues and the health issues. I've been extremely impressed with the staff. They're very well trained. But it's about at 30%, and that's really understandable. So that's about it.
Jenny,
Yeah,
may I ask a question?
sure.
How have I think our last meeting, you were talking about how masks aren't required in the gyms when people are at their machines, or I forget. And we were talking a little bit about, could you make hours where masks were required? And then the very next day, the rules changed and now masks are required everywhere. So are they implementing that in the gyms, that all throughout the gym, people are actually wearing their masks the whole time? Obviously not swimming, but.
Okay, they're implementing what the governor and the state health department is requiring, which is as soon as you walk in with a mask, as you're walking around the gym, you must have a mask on. But if you're doing certain types of activities, you can take the mask off. Not off, but just bring it down. And like, say you're getting on a treadmill. You get on the treadmill, clean it, take the mask, put it, down, and then use the treadmill. As soon as you're finished, you put it on again, you bring it up and put it on, and then clean your treadmill, and then you walk around, and they have arrows which aisle you walk up, and directional arrows, etc. So that's what the state requires, and they're very strict when you walk in and tell you, do you know what the rules are?
Hey, Jenny, I have a question about childcare and CA revenue. From what I've been looking at, probably if you're going to group those who are in most need of childcare because they don't have telework capable jobs, or they basically have jobs where they need to be present at their workplace. I mean, obviously there are some groups of essential workers who have fairly decent incomes, doctors, people like that. But then we have a lot of other people who are probably going to be in need of childcare because they're on the other end of the economic spectrum. They're working in food service and things like that. And those are also the folks who probably historically haven't been full paid members for CA childcare, because I know CA will reduce rates based on income eligibility. So how is, and maybe this is a bit much to ask you right now, maybe this is more a question for staff, but how is, I guess, how is CA going to balance, serving the people who might most need the childcare, given that CA also needs the revenue from aftercare, but they may not be the people who typically give you that revenue, because of the way that work patterns have changed.
Yeah, okay, I'll check on whether we're going to change the policy, because you're correct. In the past, we have been subsidizing based on income, and then sometimes there was, it's on a sliding fee scale, so sometimes there was an additional expense, but we would refer them to Department of Human Resources, and they would make up the difference. So then the person would be able to pay for the childcare. Whether that'll continue, I'll ask Michelle, but I would think we're probably going to try our best to make sure it does continue. CA, I'm trying to recall the amount in the budget, but I was surprised about a year and a half ago to find out how much is in the budget, and I think it was close to 700,000, and it may have increased since then, of subsidies that CA is responsible for. And my point was, should the county be helping us with that? Is the county subsidizing people outside of CA lien property with parks and recreation and other services? So we are paying taxes to support that. this is another example of then, should the county be paying something for people that are Howard County residents that are using CA facilities, and why are our lien payers subsidizing them as well as subsidizing people in the county? So I still feel strongly about this and other issues. We need to be talking to the county executive about how do we get a fairness here, an equity issue here. So I'll double check that with Michelle, but there's been no policy change as to how we approach subsidies.
Okay, great.
But I understand your point. Can we afford it?
Yeah, and look, we talked about our CA budget testimony, which is in September, but then before you know it, we'll be gearing up for the county executive's budget hearings and the county council budget hearings. So it's something that we want to talk to the county about on behalf of our residents. I think having that information from CA could, really potentially help.
That's a good point. And I think this gets to what CA is trying to work with the village boards, the village managers, other residents, stakeholders, as to what should be our core services now, considering the budget. Should we be subsidizing at all? Should that be a core, what we, based on our mission, our vision, our value system, should we still continue to provide that? So everything's on the table in terms of that. And it's really based on how much revenue we're going to get in. So good question.
All right. Thanks, Jenny. Sandy.
Okay, I pretty much covered everything about the facility operations. We have, as I said, Brigida and she has scheduled tours. So for the most part, we're both available on those days. We have hand sanitizing machines. We have decals. We have mask policies, where to stand policies. We've closed off the restrooms. We taped off the water fountain. We have plexiglass around the front desk, and we only will allow 2 people in for a tour, and it's scheduled a half-hour tour with a half-hour in between to go wipe everything down, and then the next tour. So it's like a 3-hour time frame, probably twice a week, that people can have tours, and we've done 3 so far. And I guess I'll unmute Brigida. It's gone fine. She was really the one there for most of them, but they go upstairs on their own. We go ahead of them and turn on the lights. Everything's clean. They go up on their own. They look around. They come downstairs, and then we talk to them from inside the front office area with any questions that they have. They can go and look in the courtyard. They can go in the downstairs room, wherever they want. We're not going with them. And then they come back, we discuss it and go from there like we would any other tour. And then when they leave, wipe down everything in the office, the handrails and all of that. So we'll be booked up with tours, a few a week, because there's people that are interested. Some people come and still want that crowd of 100 and aren't happy, but before they come, we send them an information sheet on what to expect at the tour, and then the guidelines for rentals. So they know about that before they even come for the tour. But other people are all together with it and understand, and their numbers are low. And so it's just a little bit of everything. So that's working out. We're doing well with the Brigida and I doing the exterior alteration applications. Now the RAC's meeting every 2 weeks. So that's working out, right, Lynn? I think we're good with that. It's a lot of work. I won't deny it. Neither will Brigida. But we're getting to see the different residents, and we're getting some very nice thank you letters, and that makes us all feel good. So I share those when I get them. A lot of people are doing a lot of really nice improvements to their home. Maybe because they're home and they've put things off, they have time, but I mean, we're getting a lot of houses that are gonna reside, putting on additions, doing a lot of backyard stuff that I guess now that they're home, they realize they want a beautiful deck and a beautiful patio. And we're only accepting complete application, so they have to get all the information because we're not going to take up the RAC's time with partial things. So it seems to be going really well. And Karina's doing the, Brigida and I are going out and doing the site visits for the letters of compliance, and then she's going out and, or she's doing the letters, the research, and following up from there. So that's good. So we got the air fans installed, but there's some electrical thing they forgot to hook up, but they will be operational. There's 2 big UV fans up in the loft, one at each end, catty corner to each other. So then the other thing is just do anyone have questions? I want to say hi to Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. We haven't seen her since March. So here, I'll unmute you for a sec, Charlotte. She'll figure it out. So don't worry about it, Charlotte. The next thing we have is because we didn't agree to sign an amended management contract, we had the accountant redo the fourth quarter financials, and it doesn't affect any of our bottom lines other than it lowers our cash reserve going into the next year by $534. So we have to get a vote on approving the revised financial report. Anyone have questions? Do I hear anything?
Me.
You stared at us all night. Anyone want to make a motion?
What would be the motion, Sandy?
The motion would be to approve the revised FY20 fourth quarter financial report.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'll make a motion to approve the revised FY20 fourth quarter financials to reflect the excess cash reserve payment back to CA.
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, that's everyone.
And just so that you know, I think 3 or 4 of the villages out of 10 did not sign it like we did. The ones that signed it had, the ones that signed it would have had to give a lot more back in FY20 in the cash reserve had they not signed it. So it was more a money thing, not because they totally supported it, but they totally didn't want to give back $7,000, $8,000 that most of them said they saved in the fourth quarter because they cut their staff and expenses. So they signed it, so they're not giving that back. And others didn't have to give anything back or minimal and chose not to sign it.
All right.
And that's all I have, unless anyone has questions.
Any questions for Sandy? All right, Lynn, do we have any other architecture items tonight?
No, I just want to underscore what Sandy said, that the RAC meetings have been going really well. Sandy and Brigida have just been troopers pitching in and making sure that everything is going as smoothly as it is. The applications we're getting, as Sandy said, they're for really, really quality projects, really wonderful, exciting projects. And more importantly for me, actually, than the quality of the projects themselves, is the quality of the applications. The applications we're getting are so detailed and so complete. It makes it really easy to go through and really see exactly what it is that we're going to be looking at. So all going very well. So that's it.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, Lynn, do you want to take us right into bulletin board then?
Do I? Oh, sure. I have nothing more.
Rebecca? No bulletin board? Okay. Paul?
Yeah, I've got one item. It's basically a status item on the DC Metroplex BWI Roundtable. They have not met since the latter part of last year. I'm not even sure that they're going to be meeting soon. An email came around saying, well, do we really need a meeting? The only item of interest would be basically electing or re-electing the current board chair. There's been little or no contact with the FAA. Of course, they've been involved with the Boeing issue more than anything else, and what's been going on with the problems at the airports because of the lack of passengers. The only good thing about this has been you haven't heard a lot of airplanes coming over. So that's a status report on it.
All right, thanks, Paul. Bill?
Real quick, I got a call a couple weeks ago from a resident complaining about the hillside across from the ice rink.
The what?
The hillside, the school hillside across.
Oh, Jonathan. Yeah.
And he said several residents near him have been complaining. I said, well, here's the bottom line. What you need to do is send an email to all the members of the village board and to the village manager listing your issues, and have each resident send emails, or one resident send it with 7 or 8 different names from the residents. I have not received any myself, and if none of us have, then they have not followed up. And I told him that if you want action eventually, you've got to make the complaint and let everybody on the board and the village manager know. So I got the verbal, but I haven't seen any follow-up.
So this is not new. I actually met with Howard County Public School Systems head of grounds, I forget the title, but the groundskeeping guy, and the principal at Oakland Mills High last fall, like right at the beginning of the school year, because we were getting complaints then, and people were even filing complaints via C-Click Fix, and the responses they were getting were basically too bad. And, you know, this is all part of that effort to combat not only erosion, but also runoff down that hillside, because there have been erosion and runoff issues there. I don't find it to be the best solution. The real idea was to reforest that area, and you can see they planted some trees, but then they ran out of funding and didn't plant the rest. So the outcome of that meeting in the fall was we were going to try to get together, you know, basically as we headed into the spring growing season, and take a look and see what we could, you know, maybe figure out, maybe even involve a master gardener or two, and then see if there was something we wanted to do jointly where we went, you know, back to maybe the county executive's office and said, hey, you know, could you find some funding to either complete this project or do something different? Of course, the growing season started just as the schools shut down and COVID happened, so that didn't happen this year. So to be honest, I've kind of laid low on it because they've had a lot of other things to deal with the school system, and I think the grounds are the least of their worries right now. But it's something that has been on the radar, and I have had some discussions with them about how that's not a suitable permanent solution to the erosion problem. So we are, you know, we are kind of on the record with them. We haven't taken any formal action as a board because I wanted to see what they could come up with going into this year's growing season. And then of course, this year's growing season has basically been a washout, no pun intended, when it comes to better erosion mediation. So I think it's something, I think once they figure out what their new normal is and get school going again, it's something that I'm happy to reach out and follow up with them on and saying, hey guys, you know, we gave you a break because you had a lot to deal with, but it's still the gateway to our village center and it is still a mess.
So anyway, that was my day.
Thanks, Jonathan.
That was really exciting. I didn't watch the ball game last night, although
All right, Ginny?
Yeah, I want to congratulate the board. Paul has been an excellent appointee of the board for the CA General Plan Task Force or Committee. He did a very good job at our first meeting. And the next meeting is the 18th. Bill, that'll be on housing. It may be something you're interested in listening into. So that's it. Thanks.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, just the mail forwarding, which I started in March, is terrible. U.S. Post Office isn't living up to their wonderful expectations we have of them. And so I've redone the mail forwarding, and just if I call, we get mail. If I don't call, then we stop getting mail. It's just the most frustrating experience I've had. So most every bill I now pay online. And if I get something late from a resident, I've been calling them saying the mail was slow, I just got this. But it's just been really frustrating. It's really been terrible. So that's all.
Okay. I guess that leaves me. So.
Oh, we have a hand up, Jonathan.
We do?
Catherine Knight.
Oh.
Should I unmute her? Or you want to go first?
No, I'll.
She put her hand down.
No, I'm here.
Oh, she's there. It's up to you, Jonathan. Do you want to talk or?
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, no, I was trying to ask during Ginny's section. Can I go back to that slightly?
Yeah, it's only 8:25.
Huh?
We didn't see her hand.
I know, I had it up for a while. I had a resident question. So my question was, school's opening in 3 weeks, I think. So, I mean, I don't know whether people are going to be able to, CA still doesn't know what they're doing. They're still planning it. I mean, I don't even know what they propose to make money or even, the larger effort of like helping people if they are not going to have anything now. I mean, like, when do you think they would actually be able to propose some kind of solution? Because I think people are going to hire people or do some other process before that gets off the ground. And so it's not going to make money anyways. I guess that's what it seems like a lot of work to not get anywhere with it. So I guess I'm just curious, when do they have a target date when they'll have a plan to provide to people?
Well, the Supreme Sports Club, but that's just 2-hour increments, will be open now. But that isn't, I don't know if that'll help at all in terms of what you're talking about. The other, Michelle was working on a survey that's been out to people that have used our before and after school programs a couple of weeks ago to see if they're interested. So I can check on what the results are and see if she's at capacity. If not, we need to let other people know. So I'll check on that first thing in the morning. And if you want to contact me,
because they don't even have the schools lined up yet, right?
That's what they've been working on.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do or they don't. So I'll check with her tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But if you want to contact me directly, I can then let you know as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Sean.
All right. So let's see, for my bulletin board, a couple of things. First, again, I want to send out a thank you to Sandy, to Brigiva, to Amy, to Karina, for all you're doing under tough times. I don't honestly know how you're keeping up. And I know despite our attempts to furlough Sandy, she still keeps working beyond her.
Because I keep up because of the word Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, because I was getting budget documents this weekend. So, I know I know everyone's, doing all they can to keep up with things, and it's greatly appreciated by all of us. And I just want to make sure we keep repeating that. This is just something for everyone's information, because if you come across anyone who is, indicating they're in need or anything, first of all, because the start of the school year has now been pushed back to after Labor Day, the summer meals program has also been extended through Friday, August 28th. So any student in the Howard County public school system is eligible for summer meals. And any child in the county under 18, regardless of whether they're a Howard County student, can get summer meals at Mills Middle distribution site. There's also a service out there that will deliver meals to people who go to the meal site at the time they're offering the meals. And if anyone needs it, I can get them sign up information. So, circulating that, and I assume something like that is going to continue through the school year, because the school buildings won't be open to students. And that delivery option will continue as well. And it's quick and easy and anonymous. I'm a substitute driver, so I know where I've delivered, but I don't know who I've delivered to. If they want to stay private, and we're getting the food out to as many people.
I hope you enjoy it.
Also on that, I know the schools have been pushing this, but obviously folks' economic conditions may have changed, and they may not realize what they're eligible to. So the school system is making a push to ensure that everyone is aware of the free and reduced meals program, in case we have people who now need it who maybe didn't before. And there's a lot more to that program than just free and reduced meals. It's everything from access to pre-K to waiver of registration fees, for the SATs, reduced AP fees, lots of things beyond free and reduced meals. So, there very well could be, many more people in our community and throughout the county and throughout the state who are now in a situation where they qualify for that. So, if you're talking to anyone or you're hearing from anyone about any struggles, please, point them in the direction. And all that information is out there on the Howard County Public Schools website, or I've noticed that our local schools even have the information on their websites, since they do tend to serve families who have these needs under normal times. So just wanted to put that out there on the record and share it with all of you in case you're talking to folks who are having some struggles right now. And that's all I have. So if there's nothing else, I'll say good night and adjourn.
Hi.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
So long.